We're on to the next segment of our show. And Sharon, we've already heard from you. You've done fantastic work over the years.
Thank you.
You're an author.
Thank you.
You're really getting companies to see the light and giving them advice on how to advance, making sure that minorities get proper credit and attention. So tell us about your business and how you got started and what were some of the challenges that you faced.
Well, thank you for having me. My business is the Rae Mackenzie Group, and we are a diversity, equity, and inclusion marketing firm. And what we do is we work with corporations and we help them position themselves in the marketplace to build stronger, more authentic relationships with people of color and to be able to attract top talent of color. And I'm also the founder of a proprietary technology called peopleofcolorcareers.com. And that's a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week solution for corporations to connect with and have an avenue to create a diverse talent pool by connecting online with top talent of color. And so that is, and obviously we need that because our workforce is changing, right? Our demographics are changing. And we all know what's coming down the pike, right? In 2042, where we will be a majority minority nation, and companies are just not really ready to compete in a way to make sure that they're increasing racial inclusivity at all levels of the corporate structure. The numbers are just dismal. So what we're doing is trying to solve that problem and helping to shave some time off of helping corporations find that top talent so that they can maintain their competitive edge, and also give Black professionals and other professionals of color a direct access to help knock down some of those barriers to be able to speak directly to recruiters who can help them land their dream careers. So that's what that's all about. But I didn't start that way. It started with an idea and a dream in 1997 that I need to do something to make some real change in my own backyard. And my mom said, listen, you can walk around complaining, soaking up oxygen, or you can be a part of the solution. So that's when I decided, that I could make some real change by using my gift of being able to help companies really get this right. And then, so we started that out in June 1997. And then 2008, we all know what happened there. There was a recession. And I lost everything, and I lost my home. I lost my car. The first budgets that were cut was the diversity, equity, and inclusion budget. Mm-hmm. So me, my mom, and my daughter were bouncing from sofa to sofa. I got nothing but a dream. Wow. And I had a multi-million-dollar networking Rolodex. I had taken care of my relationships over the years. And a colleague of mine from a client at Target called me up and said, listen, we're not coming back right now, Sharon. We're not going to be your client right now because we don't know what the heck is going on with this recession. But we think you can make a real difference by running a nonprofit, helping them raise money to help low to moderate income kids get to and through college. And you can do that to get back on your feet. And I'm like, oh my God. But anyway, because I wasn't have a plan to get a job. But the point is that my relationships, my networking ability helped really save my career, save my life, give me a second shot, give me an opportunity to feed my kid. So that was a rough spot, but because of the networking skills, it helped get me over that hump to put me in a position to be able to relaunch my business. Great. And so that's that. So that's sort of that's the rough of it.
What a powerful story. And we're so glad you're here and that you made it. And yes, it just really points to the power of having relationships. And to do that, you have to be a good person, right? You have to be a person worth having a relationship with.
I agree with that. One of the things that I teach is that we have to be genuinely interested in other people. So it's not about taking. We need to be in a position to, not only receive value from those relationships, but add value. So if you have that servant mentality, you're going to be just fine. And I'm so glad that my mom taught me that, over the years. It was born out of, being Black in a poor neighborhood, her teaching me how to actually meet governors and senators and, as she would put it, good white folk. So to make sure that you can make it in this nation, and she taught me the importance of being genuinely interested in other people and really learning about them and what they're happy about, what they're sad about, and create authentic relationships. And that's where it came from, and I'm grateful for it. And it's carried me a long way for nearly 30 years.
Well, so that is amazing. And so you help people of color advance in their careers, get the right jobs. And since relationships are so important, do you have to coach them on how to interact with the other people in the workplace in a way that will move them forward? I mean, we all need that, quite honestly. Like as a woman, I faced, some barriers when I was in the chemical industry.
Sure.
So how do you actually help these people? Like, what do you do?
So with the platform, um, professionals of color are members of the platform. They go online, they upload their resume, they create their profiles, and then they're constantly getting good advice and information from me on a regular basis because they're members. And really, what we're talking about is just the power of stepping up, following up, and understanding what questions to ask and nailing that elevator pitch, no matter what level of work that you're where you are now or where you're trying to get to, whether it's entry level or executive level. You have to understand how to present yourself and how to make sure that other people know exactly what it is that you want. In this case, recruiters. You also have to understand the importance of posture. And I don't just mean a straight back. See, when you understand your position in the world, and that is that as a top professional of color, you're in the catbird seat. You want to understand and be choosy about what companies and corporations you want to work with. Do they align with your values? Do they see things the way you see them? What does their diversity look like in the C suite? What is their CEO saying in the news? What do they stand for? What are they doing around corporate social responsibility? So I coach on what questions to ask and how to stand up straight and have the right posture when you're reaching out to that recruiter. Because on my platform, you can talk directly to the recruiters. There's no middle people. And they are committed to making sure that you have a shot at getting more information about the career opportunity for them to be able to advocate for you and guide you through to the next level. So my coaching with professionals come once you're a member, throw the back end videos and emails and newsletters and sometimes one-on-one conversations, but we have thousands of professionals on the platform. So I'm not able to do that as much as I have in the past. And then we also do the same thing for employers. I'm like, wait a minute, this is a two-way street. Who do you think you are? We have choices. So I also make sure they understand what their posture should be and that you need to be genuinely interested in the professionals on the platform and really be respectful and know that they don't have to choose you. It's like dating. They really don't, so that's what we do.
I think that's a great a great situation. We were working with a recruiter not too long ago, and this was the first one that actually took the time to ask a lot of deep questions about me, about the firm, about the type of candidate. And you get so many recruiters that they're just getting resumes and
That's right.
sending them back and forth, and they don't ask the right questions. And so people, it's the fit doesn't necessarily work. And
That's right.
I can see where there would be work needed on both sides of the equation in order to make the right connections and give the professionals, every chance and make sure that it's a good fit for everyone. And I think if you're just hiring to hire somebody for some reason, that's not an acceptable situation, right?
Yeah.
It has to be a mutually beneficial relationship.
There's no question. I mean, this is about expanding our narrow networks. In my book, Colorful, I talk about the importance of really stretching. You see, what happens is we hire people that we know because it's safe, right? And so that's why we end up with a lot of homogenous workplaces. And as a Black professional and other professionals of color, it's tough to get access, because generationally we don't have those relationships. And so we're trying to get that access, get that foot in the door, get that seat at the table. And so what my platform does is allow us to really expand those relationships and expand those networks. So when that professional is talking to the recruiter, not only do they get to know them, they get to talk to them about who else in the organization would be helpful, as they move along their career journey. Same way with the recruiter, be like, oh, you, Sharon, you may be overqualified for this role, but I know you have people in your network that you can send to me. Right. Because I am open to receiving that information, having conversations and coffee with others. So it gives us an opportunity to expand those narrow networks as well. And that's so important, to create authentic relationships with people who don't look like you.
Right. So Sharon, do the workplace people get it? The corporations get it? Why diversity is so important? How the group think, like, you really need input from every person you can find on the planet that has a different perspective. Do they understand that, or do you have to teach them that?
I think that, major corporations understand the importance of diversity and inclusion. I think people understand it, but there's been very little action around it, very little. We haven't made that much progress in the last 30 years. And so with the pandemic and George Floyd and other situations that have been happening, people are starting to fast forward and really like, you know what, we gotta make a change. And the reason why is because consumers are starting to pay attention. Consumers are saying, oh, heck no, I'm not going to be doing business with this company, because they don't have X, Y, or Z. So we're starting to get a lot smarter, as consumers. And so that's forcing our companies to get a little bit faster and moving on this thing called DEI and making sure that there's more professionals of color at all levels of the corporate structure. So yes and no.
Well, that's good. Well, Kenya, I know you have something to say here, Kenya.
I've been nodding profusely this whole time, Sharon. So, I really respect the work that you're doing in this space because it's so needed.
Thank you.
And I think when you think of culture, right, like it's really a mindset. It starts with a mindset and shifting and creating that new narrative. And my question for you is, how can companies start to make that shift, right? Because you made a good point about, there's a lot of chatter, but not a lot of doing. So how can they actually start to make those shift and those changes so that narrative starts to evolve into a better place?
So let me tell you how it starts. So the CEO and the board have to decide. They just have to make a decision. I remember when I worked for Prince, he used to say, Sharon, just stop it. Just decide. Just make a decision. And so once you do that and you decide what you want your workplace to look like, feel like, be about, guess what? Things start to shift. And so it starts at the top because we can't do it at the bottom. So CEOs, board members, CHROs have to get in a room and say, you know what? Enough is enough. We're going to have 2 additional African-Americans on the board. We're going to have 2 Latinos in the C-suite by 2022. It literally is that simple. That's what has to happen. And then you start to get the experts in place that you need to make sure you can execute on those targets and goals. And you absolutely need targets and goals. And that's how the shift happens, when the people at the top start to make it happen.
Interesting. So
Yeah, it all comes from the top.
It all comes from the top.
Yep.
Yeah.
It rolls downhill, as they say.
Well, or consumers force you to do it, so it's like, oh my God, so you don't want that. That's a crisis management. You want to kind of get there on your own.
Right. Well, unfortunately, we're coming to the end of our time. Richard's telling me we could talk about this.
It's gone really fast.
Could talk about this for a long time, but we'll have more chance to talk during the rest of the show, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we need to go to a break. So you're listening to Passage to Profit, the Inventor Show on WOR 710, the voice of New York, with Richard Elizabeth Gearhart. We will be right back.